If you're in a clutch, you need to experience the servant's touch.
My friend, I'm on a cruise, surrounded by ocean, music, and a lot of momentum. One thing on the deck that didn't move at all is a giant chess piece, or some people call it a chess board. No crowd, no clock, just pieces waiting for a decision. And that board preached a sermon like none other on leadership without ever saying a word. Now, for you chess lovers, won't you come with me? Let's go to this board and have a conversation on the topic the strategic servant leader. The strategic servant leader, leading with purpose and not impulse. All right, here's our first move. You know, it's important to know the board before you can touch any of the pieces. Consider this story. A man once stepped confidently on the board and immediately grabbed the queen. One move, one big confidence, but hadn't studied the board. Now, in just 2 moves later, his queen was cornered. No support, no escape. The game suddenly shifted. Well, consider this leadership insight, my friend. Servant leaders who are strategic don't rush to act. They read the environment first. So here's some questions to consider. Who's on the board? What's at stake? What happens if we move too fast? Those are some good questions. So my friend, always remember this. Awareness always comes before authority. Awareness comes before authority. Move number 2. Always protect the pawns. They carry the mission forward. That is important. A child carefully advanced pawn after pawn, while others laughed at the quote-unquote small moves. Now, midway through the game, however, one pawn reached the queen and made the queen threaten. And then all of a sudden, all the laughters went silent. Here's the leadership insight. Strategic servants invest in people others overlook. Why? They know today's pawn, quote unquote, is tomorrow's difference maker. And if given trust, patience, and development, they can be tomorrow's game changers. So here's the question. Put this in the chat. Who do we need to protect today? What quote-unquote pawn do we need to protect today? As an act of commitment, put that that in the chat. Because let's be honest, we were a pawn just yesterday, right? And we may still be, not even realize it, be a pawn. Move number 3. Power must be paired with restraint. Power must be paired with restraint. So the queen moves fast, sweeping across the board, drawing attention from nearby spectators. It looked very impressive until the bishop and rook quietly boxed her in. It was a game-changing loss, my friend. The applause immediately turned into some gasp. The applause turned into gasp. Here's the servant leadership insight for us, my friend. Position without discipline is a liability. So my strategic servants, strategic servants understand that real power is knowing when not to move. So here's the question. Put it in the chat. What move should we not take in this new year? Move number 4. Always think 3 moves ahead, not one loud like that. Consider this story. One player stood still, arms crossed, while others grew impatient. With all of the silence of us, really set a trap. 3 turns later, check. Catch this servant leader insight, my friend. Strategic servants resist urgency culture. On the contrary, they trade speed for sustainability. And they ask this question: what does this decision set in motion? What does this decision set in motion? Move number 5. Sacrifice with purpose, not ego. Consider this story. The knight was deliberately sacrificed, and the spectators assumed it was a mistake. But in actuality, they realized it wasn't until the board opened up and the king was totally exposed. Checkmate followed shortly after, my friend. Here's our servant leadership insight, my friend. Strategic servants are willing to give up visibility, credit, and comfort, not recklessly, but intentionally for the greater mission. Think about that for a second. So here's the question. What are we willing to sacrifice in order to accomplish a greater purpose? Put that in the chat. As an act of commitment. Put that in the chat. So, this chessboard reminded me of this truth. Most leaders don't fail from lack of effort. They get checked by poor planning, reactive decisions, and confusing movement with progress, my friend. So, on today, here's my challenge, here's my encouragement to myself and you. Don't get checkmate. Choose strategy over speed. Choose people over ego. Choose empowerment over control. Consider our word wisdom. A strategic servant doesn't rush the game. They master the board so everyone can win. Learn how to move with strategy that empowers others before the board moves